For the Dark Knight to the front.
There is going to be a party in Junior Nation.
35 winners, boys. Hell yeah. Driving a hell of a race, bud. Hell of a race.
After 143 races without a win, he's making the donuts on the front straightaway.
Been waiting on that one.
This is Whiskey River, a little western town Dale Earnhardt Jr. built on his property outside Charlotte, North Carolina. Among other things, he likes to celebrate his wins here. And that's something he finally got back to this year after a 4-year drought, only to see his hopes for a championship felled by concussions. Like everything else in Junior's life, that got played out in public. But on this day, he shared with us his private thoughts and his own personal world. So this place is amazing. How did you get the idea to do this?
I was building a new house and I wanted to take care of the house. Me and my friends still like to hang out, but I didn't want to do it in my house, so we decided to build something or some kind of place where we could hang out and have some fun. And I'm into Westerns really big and just really love that era, you know, and that mystique. So we wanted to build something. We really didn't expect it to turn out like this.
Now, the first thing I noticed when I came in was that you had an outhouse. So is this actually, you know, is this a working outhouse or?
Well, it is up against the creek bank, so I would say it's partially working.
Right.
So you wouldn't want to
do
all your...
Oh my gosh!
I came home one time and I had the cockpit of an Indy car hanging out of a tree. My mom texted me and said that she thought the bobsled was pretty cool. And I said, what bobsled are you talking about? And it was actually the cockpit of an Indy car that had been brought in. There'll be all kinds of stuff in all kinds of funny places.
And the jail.
There's 2 jail cells in there that my uncles built for me. They actually did come in handy a couple times. We had some rowdy guests.
You've actually incarcerated people in here.
Yeah, for their own good, you know, because you know, some of them late nights it get kind of wild around here.
Your dad loved to have a good time. You just admit, he probably would have loved this place, huh?
He would have raised Cain with me spending money on something like this, but then he'd go off and tell all his friends how cool it was. So that's the kind of guy he was.
This is it, right?
Yeah, the Silverado Saloon is kind of the focal point of the whole town. We've had a lot of good parties in there. We got our money's worth out of it.
All right, now isn't there like a way you're supposed to open a saloon door like you see in the movies, right? They come like crashing in.
Yeah, you just go busting right through the middle.
Right, let's see how you do it. There you go.
Yeah, just like that.
As the son of a 7-time Cup Series champion, Dale Earnhardt Jr. struggled to deal with growing pains on the track.
I heard you say that when you were younger, there was a time when you crashed and you came home and you were thinking to yourself, this is the end of my career. And you said you and your dad had a great heart-to-heart after that. What did he tell you about putting that in perspective?
Whenever I crashed a car, I went to the lowest of lows. And I ran well, but I hadn't done anything to warrant an opportunity at the next level, which was the Nationwide Series. I was getting this opportunity knowing full well I really didn't deserve it. And then I went out in like the 3rd or 4th race and wrecked the car in practice before the event. And I thought, you know, in most cases, this is probably the end of, you know, my career as I know it. And so I went home and I was, you know, Dad came there and found me. And at first he was very upset and angry that I was, you know, had my head down and was upset. He just said that, you know, my reaction to what happened was wrong. I should have been thinking about how to get back on the racetrack. I should be willing to do anything to get on the racetrack if that's what I want to do for a living. You know, long story short, he said everything was going to work out.
And has that been the attitude that you've had for the better part of your career?
It did change the way I felt. It totally removed a lot of the insecurities I had because I was really young and my father was one of the best in the business. You know, everybody just thought he was the greatest thing on earth, and I was trying to figure out how I was going to have a career following that act. You know, I knew I was always going to be kind of compared to him, which I really didn't mind, but I just knew it was going to be tough to really sell people on me. But it did wipe away a lot of the insecurities that I had, and things really kind of took off after that.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. will do his daddy proud as he wins the Coca-Cola 300.
Looks like he's a chip off of Ralph Earnhardt's old block.
Since then, Dale Jr.'s career has included 2 nationwide championships and 19 wins in Sprint Cup, including the 2004 Daytona 500. Yet at times, some have questioned his dedication to the sport.
There's been that perception in the past. I mean, you've been labeled as, is he not passionate enough about the sport? People have even bandied around the word lazy. Why was that perception out there?
Well, I think that, at times I might have been lazy.
How so?
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, you're in your 20s and we're winning races.
And how about this kid?
That's hero material right there.
We was whooping everybody, and I got paired up with Budweiser, and they wanted me to be myself. I wanted to go out and have fun. That was okay with everybody. And the more fun I had, the better, because we were a perfect match. I thought at the time, that I was working hard. And then when I went to work with Rick, I knew that they did things differently. I knew it was going to be a different culture. I've learned that there's really no limit. There's really no max effort. We work a lot harder now than we did, 5-10 years ago.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. snaps that dry spell, winning today at Michigan.
When you won at Michigan, I know you looked for your crew and everybody else. You also kissed your girlfriend, which got caught on camera. So you're letting some of your personal life, I guess, out there. Are you less afraid to let people see those kinds of things now?
Yeah, I guess so. We happened to be winning the race that day, and I wanted her to be in, if that was the case, I wanted her to be in Victory Lane to see what happens and what goes on and be able to enjoy that celebration. That wouldn't have been fair at all for her not to have been able to be in that middle of that. So I wasn't uncomfortable with it.
I'm wondering where a family life, as you're in your late 30s now, plays in the picture of what you want for yourself down the road.
I don't have a schedule for that. I think that that's the biggest accomplishment you can have in life, is to raise a child, and I'd like to have that experience one day, but I'm definitely want to make sure, the time is right and I can do a good job.
At the white flag, we're on the last lap. Oh, there's contact. Stewart into the middle of the pack and over.
Everybody piled up.
I just took a lot of hard shots. This is how we raced every week. I'd find another job.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. is going to miss the next 2 races due to concussion.
How difficult has it been this year to be, what you've said many times, relevant again, to really be at the top, and then to have to really abdicate that because of the concussions?
Yeah, that was really tough. We weren't lying or kidding ourselves to say we had a shot to be in the mix. And then, I had an accident at testing in Kansas, and didn't feel real good, but I'd been through concussions before, and I knew that it would go away. Eventually, I didn't know how long it'd take. Once we had the accident at Talladega, and I went to the doctor, and I said, something's just not quite right. I don't care about race cars. I don't care about championships, and my head's not feeling right, and I'm worried that I've got to live the rest of my life with this. And if I was to race again and hide it more and have another accident, it could have been pretty tragic. So I'm glad I made the choice I made.
Not just for you, but for someone else too. Because if you're disabled in any way mentally because of a concussion in a sport that's predicated on split-second decisions and reactions, you're putting everybody at risk. How much of that did you think about?
Well, I really have to be honest, I was pretty selfish about it. I hid the first concussion and went to the racetrack and competed. I felt like even at 80%, I was still good enough to do my job.
Were you scared enough that even had you been leading the chase, do you think you would have made the same type of decision?
No, I would never made that. No. If I was leading the chase, I think I would have had a hard time volunteering myself to doctors, for sure. That would have been a totally different situation.
Where does NASCAR have to go with concussions to save drivers, I guess, from themselves, from long-term harm, and for the safety of the sport?
I'm not threatened or worried about anybody putting themselves or anybody else in danger, because I know when it happened to me, nothing else was important anymore. I got to a point to where The only thing I want to do is get this right, because this is annoying me all day long, and I can't live like this, and I don't want to go through any more time than I have to with this going on in my head, you know, and everything's really slow and foggy, and you can't think and process things like you want. It's like a virus running in the background on the computer. You know, I know if any other driver was in that situation, they'd do the same thing I did. I think they would.
Unless they were leading the
Unless they were
chase.
leading the chase. I mean, that's just, you know, everybody's got a price they're willing to pay, I guess.
Dale Jr. is constantly reminded of the realities of racing. They're proudly on display. Wrecked cars throughout the woods of his 200-acre property.
Does it have a name? It's like a, I don't know, what is this? What do you call these cars? No, the cars.
Well, this is just the graveyard, the crashed car graveyard. I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah, the NASCAR graveyard, I guess.
Right.
This car right here is the infamous Juan Montoya Daytona car where he ran into the jet dryer. It was an incident that won't soon be forgotten.
I heard the Hall of Fame wanted this car.
The Hall of Fame wanted it, but that went against.
But you got it.
Yeah, that went against my wishes.
So you actually request these cars? Like you'll see something happen and say, hey, you know,
yeah, I mean,
what are you doing with the car?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I knew that was a pretty big event. It's pretty cool to have it out here. And some days, you know, 100 years from now, somebody's gonna stumble on all this stuff and go, man, what in the world is all this stuff doing out here? This is crazy.
What makes you happiest?
What makes me happiest is winning races, running fast laps, and being around my family and my friends, just spending time with them. The best case scenario for me would be to fill up this saloon and just hang out all night. I mean, that doesn't get any funner than that.
Next on NASCAR Face to Face, Tony Stewart, unfiltered and unapologetic.
Anybody that says we're there for the fans, they're lying. Nobody starts in this sport because of the fans. They start in the sport because they love driving race cars.